Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. Joe Biden hosted a reception at the White House on Monday to celebrate the Muslim holiday of Eid al-Fitr after sending out a tweet that basically acted like Islam built this nation. The holiday marks the end of the fast of Ramadan, something he compared to the fasting that Catholics engage in during Lent. In the words of our next guest, Biden's speech was something of a cringe fest and highlights the dynamic in which Biden and his allies in the Democrat Party reduce identity groups to their most basic form and then pander to them. In reality, Biden's policies are creating chaos for Americans of all stripes, including immigrants. And to that point, the Biden administration is yet to properly vet more than 88,000 Afghan refugees who were brought to the U.S. following our withdrawal from Afghanistan in August of 2021. 4 Republican congressmen sent a letter to Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas explaining that DHS experienced obstacles to fully inspecting and screening thousands of refugees, posing a possible risk to national security, you don't say. Customs and Border Patrol is also unable to do a proper screening on evacuees because they lack the data necessary to do so. This inquiry is a part of the House GOP investigation into our withdrawal, and 2 of the House reps who signed the letter have previously called for the Biden administration to turn over all documents pertaining to our exit from Kabul, which left 13 U.S. service members dead in an ISIS terror attack. Scores of Afghans were also killed in an effort that was widely seen as being poorly planned and poorly executed. If the Biden administration doesn't comply with the request, then House Republicans could theoretically subpoena Biden in a similar manner to how Secretary of State Antony Blinken was subpoenaed in March for failing to disclose classified documents, confirming that American officials knew that the Taliban would likely take power when we left Afghanistan. Joining us now to discuss all this and more is Robert Spencer, the director of Jihad Watch. Robert, thanks for being here tonight.
Always good to talk to you, Kara. Thank you.
Great. So all this time later, and they still haven't gotten around to vetting. What's going on?
Well, probably this is all part of the plan. I don't think these people are stupid. I think they're evil. And so we know from Alejandro Mayorkas several years ago, at the time that Kabul fell, that most of the people that the Biden administration was bringing over were not holders of the special immigrant visas. Now, the special immigrant visas were given to people who helped the troops in Afghanistan. Now, if we didn't give the visas to people who helped us, who did we give them to? That was never answered, never explained. And then they've had all this time to vet these people since they've been here, and nothing has been done. You gotta think that they're either the most incompetent fools who have ever walked the planet, or else this is what they want. They want to sow chaos and dissolution and trouble and crime among American citizens because it's all part of their larger socialist internationalist plans to undermine the nation state itself. Now, I would have said this was crazy just a few years ago, but what other explanation is there for not vetting these people after all this time?
And also, I know maybe it's glib to say, but when CBP says, well, we didn't have the data for our agency to kind of help with any vetting whatsoever through the DHS, I was thinking, well, yeah, because we left a lot of those biometrics and other data with the Taliban. And then the Taliban was using that to hunt down any of our friends and allies left behind. So maybe that's where it went. And again, I hate to be glib because lives were at stake, but it really is, as he said, it's really so terrible to recount. Do you think the DHS Secretary Mayorkas is going to really respond to this letter or work with Congress? I mean, his track record would show probably not.
That's right. I don't have any hope that he's going to suddenly come clean and start to reveal what's going on here. And the fact is that he knows that he's got people behind him. He knows that the Department of Justice is under the control of Merrick Garland, who is part of the same corrupt regime, that the FBI is under the control of Christopher Wray, same thing. So who's going to hold him accountable? This is what they want. This is what they got. Either, like I say, either they're stupid or they're evil, but they're all in it together one way or the other. And so they're going to protect each other, and Mayorkas will face no accountability whatsoever.
And then it was also kind of interesting, just the last few days on Twitter, I saw a lot of people kind of, talking about this tweet. It either came from Biden's account or from the White House's official account, from one of these accounts. And it was basically saying that Islam built this nation. And that was kind of the idea it gave up. It didn't necessarily say it in those words. It was just kind of funny. People were using it to kind of poke fun, saying, well, I seem to remember the Barbary Wars as one of the first wars the U.S. had to get into after the American Revolution because our men were being taken hostage. Sailors were being taken hostage by the Muslim Barbary pirates. And when Thomas Jefferson tried to ask why, saying, hey, why are you guys taking our men? They went, well, because you guys are Christian and we're Muslim, and that's that. We get to take what we want from you. So that's kind of interesting. You have a whole article over at PJ Media explaining, Biden, as you said, is cringe fest over at the White House. I was wondering if you could kind of outline some of the highlights, or I guess lowlights, from that event.
Well, Kara, the first thing is indeed that he said that Muslims have been part of the United States ever since its founding. And that's a myth that goes back to the Obama administration, which first started having dinners for Eid al-Fitr and other Muslim holidays at the White House. And Obama several times said that there were Americans involved in the founding. And nobody ever said, well, wait a minute, who were they? Where were they? Where were the Muslim founding fathers? Who were the Muslim signers of the Declaration of Independence? And after Biden's reception for Eid, I saw that several news outlets were saying that there were 3 or 4 Muslims who were fighting in the revolution. But they don't even actually know that these people were Muslims. They know that they were Black Africans who were probably slaves, and they were probably not Muslims at all, but had Islamic names and had converted to Christianity once they were here, because there is no record of slaves in large numbers practicing Islam. So it's not even clear that these people were Muslims at all. You're talking about a handful of people who may have been forced to fight. And this is the great Muslim contribution to the American Revolution. It's clearly historical revisionism designed to pander to a voting group that they want to keep safely on their side nowadays. But there's absolutely nothing to it. You don't hear about Muslims in the United States at all until the late 19th century, and only really in the last few decades do you see them as a significant political force here.
And it would be one thing to do this kind of reaching out if we didn't also forget who we were as a people ourselves. But of course, we lost that a long time ago. Even with the trans shooter in Tennessee, specifically targeting, I know they're hiding the manifesto once again after saying, no, we'll release it this time. Oh, just kidding, not anymore. But killing Christians. And, Biden, with everything else, will say, I stand with XYZ community whenever even if it's a stretch of any community being quote unquote affected. Well, this isn't a stretch. People were literally killed. And no, I stand with the Christian community, or I stand with Jesus. You don't see that, and that is really, really disappointing. But before I let you go tonight, some funny points. It seems Biden, he told someone in the crowd to hush up, boy, and also having the quote here, wish everyone a happy Eid Mubarak. I was wondering if you could explain some of that before I let you go.
Yeah, Ramadan Mubarak, or Eid Mubarak rather, is what Muslims say to each other on Eid al-Fitr to sell. It's like saying Merry Christmas. It's saying have a blessed feast. And so when Biden said Happy Eid Mubarak, it's like saying Happy Merry Christmas. It doesn't make any sense. And it just shows that the man doesn't have any idea what he's really talking about. He's just doing what his handlers tell him and pandering to the groups that they tell him to pander to.
It's a story as old as time, unfortunately. Robert, thanks for dropping by tonight.
Thank you.